Hello student and welcome to our today's class. In our today's class, I'm going actually to introduce this unit on mathematics. But before that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Makori and I will be teaching you this unit on mathematics. So without much ado, we all know that mathematics involves calculations. So in this unit, we are going to do the computations that are actually going to be mathematical. And with that regard, I would expect you to have the calculator, which will make your classwork to be a bit easy and also faster, not forgetting, enjoyable. Therefore, I want us direct to go to the first topic, which is actually the introduction, where we shall talk about the basic mathematics operations. So today, I want us to start with the basic mathematics operations. So globally, we have got 4 basic mathematical operations. That is number 1, the addition. And when we talk about addition here, we simply talk about the sum of items, which is normally denoted by the sign plus. It is normally denoted by this sign plus. So when we talk about addition, it's simply having a cumulative of items. Like for example, if you buy 2 items and later you add maybe 7, so cumulatively you will have 9 items. And ensure that whenever we are adding, they must be items which are similar. Number 2 basic operation is what we call subtraction, which is actually the difference. When we talk about subtraction, we are referring as the difference, normally denoted by the sign minus. So to subtract is actually to reduce. Like for example, if we had maybe 33 students in a class and then maybe 5 transfer to another school, then how many will remain in that particular class? You will find that now we are going to have the 28 students remaining in that particular class. So whenever we are talking about subtraction, we are getting the difference between numbers. Another basic mathematical operation is the multiplication. The multiplication. And whenever we are talking about multiplication here, we refer to the product. With product, which we normally use the sign times. So like for example, if we were to group two students, and then we have maybe 4 groups. So that is 2 by 4. You will find that in total, we are going to have 8 maybe students. That is say each group has got 2 and we have got 4 groups. So we are going to have 8. And also note that when we are talking about multiplication, this can be expressed this way. It is actually 2 4 times. It is the same as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is actually giving you 8. It is actually adding 2 by itself 4 times to have you 8. Then number 4, we have the operation called division. Division, it is when a particular quantity is shared equally among a particular number. So this one here, it is normally denoted by this sign divide. Therefore, if for example, a mother had 20 oranges and needs to divide these oranges among her 4 children equally, then each will get 5 oranges for that case. So it is a particular quantity being shared equally in a particular number so that you can be able to get that. Having understood that, we can now go ahead and discuss about operations operations involving negative or negatives. So we can find a case whereby we are involving negatives or negative integers. Like an example here, you can have maybe 10 plus negative 3. So here we are involving a negative. So for us to be able to do this, we need to have the following laws at our fingertips. Whenever you have a positive number being added or being multiplied with a negative, the answer would be negative. So our first task is to make sure that the signs that we have here, plus, minus, are actually reduced into one. Instead of having plus, minus, we can have one sign here. So because this is a plus, multiplying a minus here, that is positive times negative, it is the same as negative. So this one can be written as 10 minus 3, which will actually give you 7. So we are reducing these two signs into one by applying this law. You can have another scenario whereby you have maybe 14. This is actually 14 minus maybe positive 2. 14 minus positive 2. This is a case of actually a negative here multiplied by a positive here. So you find a negative times a positive is actually negative. So instead of having minus and positive, these two here, we can simply come and reduce and put one negative so that we have 14 minus 2, which is actually 12, like that. We can go ahead and look at another scenario. What about if maybe you are given 15 minus negative 5? So you have got these two signs that are actually following each other here. So what you need to know is that whenever a negative is being followed by another negative, the answer is positive. So instead of having negative, negative, we can have actually 15 plus 5, which will give us 20. Which will give us 20, like that. And lastly, we can have a scenario whereby maybe you have, it is 9 plus positive 4, whereby you have a positive times a positive. Positive times positive is actually positive. So this is the same as 9 plus 4, which gives you 30. That is actually what we're talking about here. So those are some of the simple things. Whenever you are adding numbers and some of the numbers are actually negative, then you need to consider that aspect. Then we can be able to talk about the same, but now when it is multiplication or division, like a case we have here. If you have a number like maybe negative 8 being multiplied by positive 3, it is a negative number multiplied by a positive number, the answer should be negative. So in this case, we find that negative 8 times positive 3 is actually negative 24. We can have another scenario. In this case, a negative times a positive is a negative. That's why the answer is negative here. You can have another case. Maybe it is negative 8 times negative 3. This is actually a negative times another negative number, whereby the answer would be positive. So you find the negative 8 times negative 3 is equals to positive 24. Then we can have a scenario whereby maybe you have positive 8 times negative 3. This is actually a positive times a negative, which should give you a negative. So you expect here again, the answer would be positive 8 plus, not plus, but times negative 3 will give you negative 24 because of that particular law. So that is how we normally do it. And some cases you can have number 4, maybe it is -8, not negative, but +8 times +3, which will give you actually what? You need to know that a positive times a positive is equals to positive. So this one should give you +24. We can also talk about a scenario whereby we are dividing, where maybe you have 30 divided by maybe 6. In this case, whenever the signs are not indicated, it simply means that it is a positive, and here it is a positive. Anytime you are having a positive being divided by another positive, the answer is a positive. So the answer here should be equal to +5. The answer should be equal to +5. If you have -30 divided by +6, in this case, it is a negative being divided by a positive. The answer is supposed to be negative. So the answer here should be -5. If, for example, it was -30 divided by -6, this is actually negative being divided by another negative. So the answer is positive. So here is going to be +5. And then, whenever it is a positive divided by a positive, like we can have +30 divided by +6, this answer is positive. So this one is going to be +5. So you also need to understand that whenever you are handling this, it is important to have these ones at your fingertips so that your work can be easier and faster. Then we can talk about, remember, in all cases, we are talking about integers here. And integers are just whole numbers. These are whole numbers, numbers without fractions. So once you have understood how you divide, you multiply, you add and subtract, we can go to what we call the order of operation. We can go to the order of operations involving integers. So whenever we are talking about the order of operation here, we are making use of what we learned known as the body mass. You can have an equation that has got more than 2 signs. And whenever we have more than 2 signs, there is a multiplication, there is a division there, then you will be required to do the order of operation. You need to apply the body mass so that you can be able to compute that particular kind of a sum and effectively and correctly. So I want us to stop there for today. It was just but an introduction. When I will come here in our next lesson, I'll start from here and we solve several sums in which we are supposed to apply the body mass, So I want to encourage you students that despite the fact that we are not having a face-to-face class, this technology allows us to do exactly what we could have done if we were in a classroom. So just feel free to come on board and ask your friends also to come on board so that we can continue running even if we are at our homes. This is the technology that I'm going to use. Together with the other platform that is Zoom, we can have a scenario whereby we can meet virtually. You can be able to ask a question, you can be able to ask for clarification, and I will be able to respond to them promptly. So let me stop there and wish you lovely moments as we are going to interact in our class. Thank you very much.